Hey guys, my name's Alicia and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I do art videos and stuff every now and then. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to check out more. And in this video today, I'm gonna wing it, not gonna lie. I've been wanting to change my workflow for YouTube for a little bit and still wanting to have something that showcased art, but I also felt so much pressure when I had a video and edited and like a time-lapse done, and say at a certain length I had to do a voiceover to fit that length. And as well as watching the video, I found that my thoughts were just kind of scattered and I wasn't really saying what I wanted to say, and I just kind of rambled on for a bit and I said like way too many times, which I do when I'm nervous, I've realised. But today I've just set up my mic. I'm just going to sit down and have a chat with you guys. I've been thinking a lot about various different art topics, and it's just stuff that I think about normally anyway because I am really bad with ruminating on thoughts, especially late at night. And that's really would be the optimum time for me to sit down and just kind of have this verbal word vomit sort of thing happen. But I live with a housemate, so I can't just set up my mic and do all that stuff in my room. I probably could, but she might hear it or she's trying to sleep, so I don't want to do that. Today, I just had a few thoughts, and one of the topics I'm going to talk about is the perfection trap, or the perfect trap. It's just stuff that I've been thinking about. I should have probably done a bit of research to see if any other people have been talking about it, because I'm sure it's a thing. I'm sure other people experience this, whether they're artists or not, or just regular people. But it probably has a name, a different name, but this is just what I've called it in my own head as I've sort of figured out and like looking at my own art, my own behaviour, as well as other people's. So what I mean by the perfect trap or the perfection trap, whichever you think sounds more pleasing, is when you want to work on something and you want to improve something and just do anything in general with your art, whether you're like, okay, you know what, I really want to make a comic, I'm going to do it, or I want to draw this fan art, or I want to learn how to paint in gouache, which is quite tricky, I'll tell you that. But there's just something stopping you. And a lot of people might think, oh, this is what art block is. And it could very well be. But for me, I get stuck in this whole idea that things have to be perfect. And if they're not going to be perfect, then why bother? Which is a really stupid mentality to have. And I think a lot of the time I don't realize I have it. It was kind of part of my upbringing in a sense, that I began to get too scared to make mistakes that I just froze and I just didn't do anything. I didn't try. I sort of got over this a little bit in high school and decided to be like, you know what, I make a lot of mistakes, whether that's in art, whether that's just in real life. I have what I like to call, I'm cursed with comedic timing. So I'm klutzy and just things just happen, or I say things and they're quite a disaster, and it's as if someone's writing like a very terrible comedic television sitcom. But alas, no, this is just my life. Sometimes it's just so terrible it's funny. But I got over it a bit and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try. I'm going to laugh at myself. It's better to do something and fail than to not try at all. Which I thought I still had this mentality. But in the last year or two, I've kind of realised I've just stopped making as much artwork as what I used to. I've stopped just doing stuff in the sketchbook because I had this idea that sketchbooks had to look nice because people want to see them. But that's not what having a sketchbook is about. The whole point of having a sketchbook is for you to express and develop ideas and make all of those mistakes so you don't make them on your final pieces. However, especially with YouTube, I found that if I was going to set up my camera and do a time-lapse for anything, it had to be perfect. I couldn't make mistakes. I couldn't let people see that I've made mistakes. There's been times where I set up a painting and I got about halfway through and filming it and everything, I'm like, no, I don't like this, I'm going to scrap it completely. And then I think from that I just started to not want to do things because I felt this pressure that it had to be perfect or it had to be really good. And so I became afraid to make mistakes. So I just stopped making art and I stopped doing things. And I spent more of my time just looking at other people's art and thinking, wow, I'll never be like this. But of course, if you're not making mistakes, if you're not making art and learning from those mistakes, you're never going to be like your idols because you're just not doing. And I think in my own head I had this thing like, if I just read heaps of books about theory, if I just look at lots of people's art and kind of dissect what they do, then somehow I'll just absorb these skills and these talents. But it's not the case. Normally you have to observe others and you have to dissect and work out what they're doing and learn theory constantly to be improving. But if you are not doing and applying those skills, you're not really learning them. You're having them come in your head for a little bit and then kind of coming out the other end and just not absorbing anything, because those skills have to be applied, and they have to be applied lots and lots of times for it to really sink in. Sadly, some people are able to pick things up really quickly. I am not one of those people. I've always had to work really hard to get anywhere or to improve in any way, shape or form. I remember when I was younger, people were like, oh, you're so talented. It's like, no, I just spent all of my time drawing and making mistakes and learning from other people, and well, I learned from my mistakes more than anything. And then eventually I started to get good for the age that I was at, and so people were really impressed. But I feel like my art has been sort of stagnant. It's sort of plateaued a little bit, and I haven't been improving as much because I've just been on kind of like cruise mode. And there'll be spurts of time where I do try and do studies and I do tutorials and I just try and absorb as much as possible. Sorry for the noise in the background. But I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't fall into the perfection trap. And one way that you can avoid doing this is be mindful. So if you have a goal to improve your art or to work on a certain project, whether that's a YouTube video, whether that's a drawing, a comic, an animation, whatever sort of art form you are doing, even if it's music as well, that is something that requires a lot of practice. One way to avoid this trap is to practice constantly, even if it's just little things, even if it's 15 minutes every now and then, to kind of get rid of this anxiety about making mistakes, or this thing in the back of your brain saying, you know, it's got to be good. You don't bother unless it's amazing because people don't want to see it, and the whole point of art is to have people like it, which is not true, by the way. But sometimes that is what you feel like. You feel like you have this audience and you have to make artwork that pleases the audience, and you kind of forget why you started doing art in the first place, that it was something you enjoyed. And if you start to not enjoy it because you're so focused on everything being perfect, on not making mistakes, on making artwork that people want to see, and that gets a lot of attention on Tumblr and things like that, you stop making. And I realized this, that I got so busy with life that I just, you know, would do really passive things in my downtime, like, oh, watch Netflix or just scroll through Facebook and Tumblr and everything for, you know, for hours on end and not realize it. It's like, well, this is time that I could have just put on some music. I could have just been drawing. One thing that I realized that helped me have this sort of aha moment, that came to realization that this was actually what I was doing, was when I realized, you know what, I haven't actually really just sketched for a couple of weeks or a month or however long it's been for you. Do you know the last time you picked up a pencil and just did a sketch? Whether that's something just for you? Do you know the last time you pushed yourself to try something completely new that isn't your comfort zone? Whether that be drawing certain characters or doing digital art as opposed to traditional, and vice versa. Write it in your diary, mark it on your calendar, and then you can see, you know what, like, I haven't done anything for 2 weeks. Why is that? Is it because you're really busy? Is it because you're just not feeling motivated? And if you're not feeling motivated, why is that? And it kind of links into the whole art block thing, which I want to do a whole separate video on, and I've got pages of notes because it's such a sensitive topic. But you've got to look at, okay, why am I not motivated? Why am I not inspired? And a lot of the time, great artists just do work without inspiration. And sometimes that's just what you got to do, because you might need to just do a few sketches and draw for an hour or two, and then you'll get inspired with an idea. Just think of it as kind of like a warm-up. You know, you might go to the gym and be like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything today. But once you sort of get in there and just, you know, do your little warm up on the treadmill, whatever you do, then you kind of feel like, yeah, you know what, I can do this. I feel pumped now. I'm gonna go do this thing. Sorry for the gym analogies, I'm sure I could have thought of a better thing. Or even if you pick up an instrument or like a guitar or something and you just start playing through your scales and you're just not feeling inspired, but then all of a sudden, like incidentally, you start playing notes, you start playing chords, and all of a sudden you have a song. So I think to avoid the perfection trap, know that nothing you're going to do is going to be perfect, and that's okay. It's better to rock up and give it a go as much as you can, even if at first you're not enjoying it. I promise if you keep doing it, you will. And you'll start to realize that art isn't just about the final product. It's not about how perfect it looks or how much attention it gets. It's about the feeling that you get from doing it. It's more about the journey rather than the finished product. I hope that some of the stuff I've said kind of makes sense. I didn't really write any notes for this or do any research. I just had these ideas in my head that I kind of wanted to express. So sorry if I didn't express them too well or if my analogies weren't great. But I just wanted to get these thoughts out and share them with you guys and see, you know, if anyone has ever been in that place where they're stuck with the whole idea of perfection and that's prevented them from making work. You might be stuck in that now, which I kind of am a little bit. I've just had AvCon and I've made a few pieces, but then I fell into this whole thing of, okay, what next? One of the things that I'm going to do to prevent this whole perfection trap thing is you can just do studies. You can go for a walk to a park somewhere, immerse yourself in nature, or even just go for a walk near your house, sit down, do a sketch. Even if you do like a mechanical sort of approach to drawing and just go, okay, I'm going to do 5 pages of studies on hands, I'm going to do 5 pages of studies on buildings, on animals, on whatever you want. And if you have these little small goals and the goal is just to have a certain amount of pages, then you're not focusing on, I want to have this finished product with these perfect lines, this beautiful color. If you're just doing that, you're kind of getting back into the habit without focusing on things being perfect. They're sketches, they're in your sketchbook, they're for you, they're not for anyone else. And that's what matters. Anyway guys, I'm probably going to wrap up the video here because I've been rambling a little bit. I think I've been a bit better at talking about stuff, but I'm trying. I'm going to get better as it goes along. And you know what? It's not perfect, and that's okay. It's the whole point of this video, which is another reason I stopped making YouTube videos for a little bit. I haven't been getting much negative feedback from my videos at all. Like, everyone has been so wonderful, so thank you so much. But I had this idea in my head that I had to compare myself to people who've been doing YouTube or making videos for such a long time, or they do it full time. But that's not the case for me. I'm still trying to find, I guess, my own workflow, my own voice for how I'm going to do videos. And when I make a video, it doesn't have to be perfect, because the more I do it, the better I'm going to get at it. And if I'm so worried about being perfect and not doing it, I'm not going to improve at all. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I hope that some of these tips were a little bit helpful for you. If you have any comments relating to the idea of the perfect trap, please post them down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the matter. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video, but until next time, keep drawing.